It is now time for us to invite on stage our panelists, and we look forward to this very, very interesting segment with our audience. So please put your hands together as we present to you the moderator for our next segment, Mr. Sunil Khanna, founder, Songdew. Let's hear a round of applause as he joins us on stage as we talk about marketing for a blind world, strategies to boost brand recall in a distracted world. May I present to you our esteemed panelists for this session. We have with us Mr. Govind Pandey, CEO, TBWA. Please put your hands together as I welcome Mr. Raghav Verma, co-founder, Chayos. A round of applause. All of you have been enjoying the Chayos outside at their booth, so, well, a round of applause for the wonderful beverages coming our way. May I present to you the very lovely and a leader, once again, Muskan Arora, CEO and founder, 11 Quest. A round of applause for all three of our founders, those who've created brands of their own, and let's see how they connect the dots and how they create some beautiful brand recall value out there. All yours, sir.
Hello, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I think the quiz which happened just before this session has set the tone for this session, that if the word goes blind, how your brand will be recognized. And actually, the context of this session is that word is going blind in the sense there is so much of information on one hand which is happening that, there's a sort of statistics that around 5,000 ads are being created per day. Then the audio medium like podcasts and smart searches are increasing like anything. And there's a challenge for the brands that in this kind of situation, how will your brand be recognized? And what role sound can play in making brand identity distinct. Besides that, I'll just take one more minute to set the tone for this discussion, that brands also, beyond, if we see beyond what is happening in terms of audio searches and podcasts and plethora of ads, that brands are also looking at building their identity, which is beyond product differentiation, through product experiences, creating the experiences for the brand. And in that context, it would be interesting to see that what role sound can play in creating brand experiences. So we have some very sort of experienced guests with us, Govind, Muskan, Raghav, who have tremendous experience in building the brands directly, and it would be interesting to know their thoughts about that. So I think I'll start with Govind. Govind, would you like to share your experience or your thought process when you have worked with multiple brands, that how do you see sound playing a role, and what do you think needs to be done by the brands to create sort of take advantage of this growing phenomena globally?
Yeah, hi. So I think first thing by itself is that I think the overall consciousness towards building a brand is increasing, and also the idea of building a brand. In the good old days, when you did a piece of advertising, people noticed it, recalled it. So the fact that branding is more than just the message that you see on a hoarding or on television or on a radio spot. So I think the consciousness that all the associations around the brand go to, see, the branding is, what is in the theory of it is that branding is about creating a memory structure. And all the senses, the more all the senses are engaged into creating a kind of a memory structure, that it helps create a stronger brand. And in India, I think, we all know that Titan created a famous jingle, and the moment you heard that, it was a version of 25th Symphony of Mozart, or Britannia's Ting Ting Ting, which happened many years back. So there's been a bit of a thinking about it for the longest period of time, but I think of late, that basically understanding and emphasis in also creating a sound signature which is specific to your brand. That awareness is increasing, and so it's going beyond just thinking of colors. My friend here, he's founded Chayos and is wearing a Chayos colored t-shirt. The awareness around the colors is now fairly well established. But how do you go beyond just the visual sense in terms of all the other dimensions, creating a unique signature or unique experience which leads to a brand? I think that's also increasing now. Yeah.
Okay. So, like Govind mentioned that the concept of creating a distinct brand identity or sonic logo is increasing. But what is also important to understand is that when we talk about sonic branding, it is not restricted to only one 3-second logo. It's also about in your retail outlets or any customer touch point, how do you create an experience which goes with the brand? And I think it will be relevant because we were just talking before the session and we were talking to Raghav that how he has worked on creating certain distinct experience using sound in Chayos. So Raghav, it will be good to share your experience on that.
Thank you, Sunil. So, I've been a musician for many years of my life. I've played piano since fourth standard and learned a bunch of instruments, guitar, bass guitar. So I understand how important the feel of the environment that you're trying to create in a cafe is, and with Chayos it was very clear to us that we wanted to create a modern Indian relatable brand. And when you talk about chai, you talk about the earthy ambience. The sound that goes with it has to be like it can't be something that is conflicting with that. So most of the coffee shops you go to, they would end up playing typically jazz music or like instrumental Western music. We were very clear that we wanted to be very Indian. We wanted to be very indie music. So it has to be a relaxing environment, but it has to connect with the root, which is chai, which is like contemporary India. So that's how we've curated the music playlist, and we get so many customers telling us that can we download your playlist? Can we we really love sitting here because it's songs that we've heard, it's songs that we relate to. So definitely made a very big difference to us, and like I've pretty much curated this. I set a 6-monthly reminder for myself that I need to change the playlist now every 6 months. So it's a very important part of the experience at Chayos.
Also, just to build on the point, as a Chayos customer, the point that there is a specific choice of music which brings about a certain kind of emotion and a certain kind of a mood which goes with chai and the kind of people that you're hanging out. So it all kind of locks in with that particular experience, and without realizing it, it sort of at a subconscious level, all those things coming together to create that specific emotion is what keeps you bringing back to that shop. Because you're eating something, so your mouth is your taste buds are engaged. आप बातें कर रहे हैं, तो the whole sound and all that is going on, and there is a certain soundscape, there is a certain kind of music that is playing. So I think it all comes together to create a unique Chayos emotion, and that is what you miss, and that's what you keep going back to. So it's an integral part of what is Chayos brand today.
Yeah, so just to build up a little bit on what Govind and Raghav has said, that what we have experienced also, that when we talk about creating brand experiences, there are a lot of research which is there is that audio component plays a significant role in creating experiences. And when we talk about retail outlets, and which will be relevant out here because there are so many people who have retail chains here who are attending this conference, that this area has been sort of neglected because you go to retail outlets, there's a merchandising, display, everything is color coordinated with the brand values and the brand mood board. But when it comes to the audio part of the branding, that is completely left out to commercial department that play any kind of music, the way you put any kind of
It is
chairs,
not
tables.
sound coordinated.
Yeah, it's not sound coordinated. And that is what is great to see that awareness is coming up. There are brands like Chayos who are paying special attention to see that how they use audio to create certain distinct experience which goes with the brand Chayos. Now, I would go to Muskan, who actually her agency works with the retail spaces. How do you see your clients as of now, the interest, and even if it is not, do you see that there's a curiosity in that, and how do you see this space evolving?
So I would speak a little bit from the Gen Z perspective as well. Being a Gen Z, for me, sound is an integral part of a brand. I have grown up in the Reels era, so for audio is something that's how I see brands. I don't know any better. For me, the Netflix sound is important because that's how I see Netflix. As you know, when we had spoken before also, retail spaces and sounds at the spaces is something that's also very important from a vibe standpoint. For me, an entire experience has to cover all the five senses, because having a digital touch point and not having a sensory touch point does not give me the full brand experience. So I definitely think that brands would start looking at audio-based playlists in stores and stuff like that. So I see that as a big part, and on digital, we any which ways operate with sounds. So, yeah.
So just to also build on your point about vibe, so Starbucks, which is a very experienced brand, I mean the third place and all, and globally it's not doing well. So there's a new CEO, and the mandate, and they have hired a new global brand officer, and the mandate to that person is actually to create the coffee house vibe back into Starbucks. So, so the fact that sound, in the case of Starbucks, probably even the smell, the overall vibe, which is an important part of the brand. So I think the more attention that we pay in terms of every little thing that is going into creating that experience, because increasingly, it's not the message, it's not what you are saying, it's what people are feeling that is contributing to what a great brand is. So all the multisensorial way of thinking about the brand experience is an important part of thinking about your brand.
Yeah, I think I'll just add to that when a customer comes to Chayos, or when a customer goes to a Starbucks, or when a customer is spending, say, 2-3 hours in a mall, that 2-3 hours is going to be way more impactful than any kind of ad that you could give anywhere else, right? Any video that you could show. So how are you able to create that vibe? How are you able to create that freshness? Be it the smell, be the visuals around you, how it makes you feel, the comfort, the music, all of that like kind of creates what that brand is all about. And there's no better opportunity than that 1 hour that customer is purely your captive customer, and they're really experiencing what the brand is all about.
So, completely agree with what Raghav says. In fact, we do a lot of research in various outlets, and it is extremely encouraging and sometimes surprising to see that the brands which pay attention to what kind of music or sound they provide in their outlets, invariably when we do research and we ask customers that what all the factors in this outlet create the ambience of the store, the music comes out as amongst top 3 factors which creates the ambience. And the outlets where generic playlists are playing, the music is not even remembered. So you may play very popular songs also, but if there's no mood which is going with the brand, people just don't notice. They just feel any radio is playing anywhere. So that's very interesting thing which is happening. Another important thing is also to see that this provides a lot of scope to do a lot of innovation, because when we talk about 4 E's, it is not only experience, that another thing is exclusivity which you can provide to your customers in terms of value add around that experience. So I think it will be good, though Raghav little bit mentioned, but if you could give more details that when you play this music, and you were talking about that you intend to provide a jukebox kind of solution, it will be good to know how you are seeing that.
Yeah, so we've been exploring coming out with a solution to give customers that power to be able to select which is the next song that they want to play from our playlist, or be able to download our playlist. So that just kind of adds one more experience touch point, and it just creates one recall factor for you, and that's how we see it. I think just being able to create those small moments of delight for the customer, that's how we've been reorienting our approach towards creating a brand. Like for example, Indigo does this brilliantly. Like Indigo's every touch point is so minutely etched into, there's a witty one-liner on the ramp. There's something on those snack boxes. So it's just like that feels like Indigo is a person who you're actually interacting with. So I think like that we also want to create those interesting elements of delight, and that's how we were looking at Jukebox as one of those options to do that.
Okay. So when we talk about this and we see that it's a growing phenomena, it's not that every brand has adopted to that. It may be good to understand from both Muskan and Govind that what can be done that more and more brands really go towards that. Because my experience is that when we talk about the sound, there is a sort of ecosystem which is missing, even perhaps in the agencies. You have a visual designers who goes through in detail that entire visual identity is consistent, whatever posters you are making is consistent with the mood board. How do you see in future the agency evolving to help the client to become more sensitive about this?
No, I think the point, I think by and large, a lot of people have now gotten aware and literate about the fact that there is like Chaos has a logo, it has a certain color, it has a certain typeface, it has to be written in a certain way. And there is absolutely no ambiguity in anybody's head that logo is important. The visual logo is important. The colors are important. I think the next stage of evolution is that the sound is also part of the logo. And the sound logo, and therefore how, like, your logo is uniquely yours, and we go to great lengths to figure out that it cannot be similar to anybody else, nobody can copy it, we trademark it, and all the rest of it. So I think the next stage of evolution of branding is really, and especially as brands are not being formed on television, but they are being formed in experiences. And so I think the sound logo, to be specifically create a sound signature, which is almost associated with your brand. And the little game that we played right in the beginning, that those sounds are now beginning to get associated. A lot of us struggled, but there are specific sounds which are getting associated with brands, and they are adding to the recall of that brand. They are they're adding to the mood of the brand. So I think that progression is happening. And increasingly, as we get into brand design in the times to come, I mean, we have, in our teams, in the agencies, we have people who are good storytellers, or who are good color people, who are good art people, who are good copy people. They know typefaces, they know which color goes well with what. Increasingly, I think this thinking about other senses, and my sense is that the next step would be more strongly audio and sonic branding. And how do you think about adding a sound layer to your brand which is uniquely ownable by you, by your brand, is the next step. And we will need people who are sound literate, who understand what sound means and what is the emotion of every sound, and how do you create a specific sound like the little game that we played, which is ownable by you, which is, so I think it's happening. And the next stage of branding, I think, will involve more and more of that.
Yeah. Sorry, before I go to you, since Govind mentioned something, it reminded me of research, and I thought it would be interesting to share that thing with all of you. Uh, so, like Govind was mentioning, that sonic branding is not about just the logo, but how do you integrate that sound in all your customer touch point. And there's a very interesting research which has been published on the master uh, uh, cards. They in their TV ad, what they have done is that background sound, they have integrated their Sonic logo notes there. And then they had done a research, and research was done by a third party, that what are the most kind of thing which people remember about that TV ad. And very surprising thing was that, your immediate response would be that if you have not seen the research, you will say visuals or the lead character who is playing there in the TV ad. But the most remembered element was the sound logo, even in the TV ad. That shows really the power of sound identity. That when a brand is investing, sometimes hundreds of crores on TV advertising, uh, they are perhaps not making use of that investment, because if they are not using Sonic logo, it is not optimized use of that. So it's just not the Sonic logo, it is beyond that in the customer, wherever customer touch point is, whether it's a retail outlet music which is playing, whether TV advertising, what background music is there, or in social media, what you are putting, is the sound which resonates with the brand. Muskan, in this context, how do you see in future, do you feel that you would, how do you see your agency evolving to fulfill this kind of needs of customers in future?
So, okay, so in the beginning, we had designers who were graphic designers. Then it evolved to motion graphics. Then slowly now I'm seeing CGI specialists. So it is evolving by the day, right? And sound is something that's new to me also. But I definitely see that now that, we're discussing it and I'm hearing so much about it, I'm thinking about it that it's a huge part of my life. But I've never been able to actually realize that, oh, there are sounds associated to brands as well. But as attention spans are becoming smaller and smaller, I believe this will become important. And the evolution is bound to happen in the next couple of years. Because what happens is we were just discussing about iconic campaigns some time ago. Visually, I cannot remember any iconic campaign, but I remember the Nirma ad, which is so old. But the music is something that I do remember. So I feel like sound is definitely an integral part, and slowly, slowly, I think we'll evolve towards, sonic branding.
Okay. In India, we are at a stage where there's a, unparalleled or not seen kind of opportunities are evolving into music or sound space. Because what is happening is that entire ecosystem of music is going through significant change. So far, really, in India, music was Bollywood, and it was always big, but then there was limited scope of what brand can do with that music because of copyright issues, and there was only certain kind of music which was called Bollywood music, which is there. But if you see last 2 years, there has been phenomenal growth of independent music, music of various genres, and there's a huge amount of following and traction for that kind of music which is happening. That is going to provide huge amount of opportunities for the brands to create their sonic identity, because now they have creators who would be able to create the kind of music which goes with the brand, and they can use them for their live performances, create more content, etc. on that. So since Raghav is a musician, I'll just ask him that does he see that this kind of a landscape where entire music scene is changing and independent music is growing big, that brands will have a lot of opportunities to engage with the music in a different manner?
Yeah, I think so. I think the music that we play, the sonic logos, they kind of define what the feel of the brand is all about. So I think it's definitely going to give more of that optionality. It's going to give us a chance to work with, social media's democratized creation, right? And when that democratized creation has happened in the music space, it's happened in the video space. So I think being able to work with creators to be able to create those distinct sounds, it's definitely an interesting thing. I think it'll pick up.
Okay, so I think we are coming close to the session, so I'll ask one more question from Govind. One of the challenges, what I have personally seen, when we interact with a lot of brands, etc., that this entire concept of sonic branding is very, very new. It's not part of MBA courses. And all the decision makers who are in various companies, all of us, when we did our MBA or anything, this was never part of our course. So we only know visual branding. So when we talk about sonic branding, it looks like a very alien concept. It means a lot of sort of educational stuff which needs to be done to make people sensitive about that, especially senior management, because people in the middle and junior can't take those calls. If Raghav is heading the company, he can take his call, like that. So what do you think agency can play a role in making top management sensitive about this concept of sonic branding, and how do we go about that?
Yeah. No, I think you're right that people of a certain, I mean, the senior managers are of a certain age, and what worked for them when they were growing up is very different. But I also feel that good senior managers are also aware that the world is changing very rapidly. In every aspect of, the media is changing, technology is changing, artificial intelligence, is creeping up on many things. So I think there is a sense of openness around what is new that can be done to improve the business. And I think the role that this can play in contributing to the business, because the senior managers are finally interested in the business outcome of it. It's not कि ये शौकिया कुछ कर रहे हैं. So if there is a way to find so I mean it'll be interesting to hear from Raghav also, that the fact that it actually helps strengthen the brand, and that brand actually helps, has an impact on the business outcomes. The fact that, I mean, he was mentioning about his, the experience, better coming from you actually. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I think
The store experience contributing to.
it is, we actually realized this about a year and a half back, that we were so focused on sales and growth that we kind of started to push the teams in terms of incentivization. The entire focus was on sales kaise badhana hai. And rather than sales badhana hai, we started to focus on those things that actually give the customer delight. And we've seen a pretty big turnaround story with the sales. So I think just focusing on those right customer aspects that create delight for customers, that is what really leads to sales. And it's the interesting thing is it's not directly quantifiable. So you have to have a gut feel for it. That this is the vibe that I'm going to create, and then if you have your ear to the ground, you will hear it from customers. You will hear them being delighted when they hear a song that they maybe heard many years back, and it's being played in your cafe. They'll start talking about it. They'll talk about it on social. So I think that it's not a direct linkage, but you have to have an ear to the ground and have a feel for it, that you're doing right by the customer and right by the kind of brand experience that you're creating in the store.
So at this stage, it is not quantitatively measurable, but you have felt the difference that it has made to your business.
Absolutely.
I mean, that business has grown.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we are almost at the end of this session. So if there are any questions, you want to ask Raghav, Govind, Muskan, please, free to ask anything which you want to know more about their experiences with sonic branding.
And Sunil.
No questions? Okay. So thanks, Govind. Thanks, Raghav. Thanks, Muskan, for sharing your views on this. And thank you all. Hope you have entertaining sessions ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Requesting you to please come closer for a group photograph as we take this opportunity, and thank you all. I'd also like to request Mr. Khanna to appreciate the presence of all our speakers here with a token of appreciation from us and our partners. It is time we thank you all. Mr. Khanna, may I request you to please present each of our speakers with a gift right here. For my guests, let me tell all of you that soon we're going to have some more fun games for all of you all, so don't go anywhere. A lot of exciting sessions lined up through the day. May I request Ms. Reema Punya to please join us on stage and add a lot more fun by thanking our moderator. Thank you so much, Mr. Khanna, for not only being here and for weaving this segment together, but also for creating that fun icebreaker for us all. It's been a pleasure having you.